Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Very good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
A very good morning to all.
Good morning,
Sir
sir.
Vangipuram Srinathachari.
Okay.
It's my privilege to convene this national webinar titled Nature's Ire as Catastrophe Reflected in Literature on this 1st July 2020. On behalf of the Department of English, Palamuru University, and the Departments of English at the PG Centers, Gadwal, Vanaparthi, and Kolhapur, I welcome all the scholarly delegates who are connected to this national webinar. At the outset, the Department of English is thankful to our Chief Patron and our Vice Chancellor, Sri Rahul Bajja Garu, IAS. I sincerely welcome the Chief Guest of this webinar and our Registrar, Professor Pindi Pavan Kumar Garu. Thank you very much for your time in attending this webinar, sir. I am very happy to welcome our Officer on Special Duty, OSD to Vice Chancellor, Dr. D. Madhusudan Reddy Garu, for being with us. I welcome the Chairperson and the Principal of PG College, Palamuru University, Dr. Noorjahan Garu, for gracing this national webinar. It's my privilege to welcome one of the speakers today, Professor Muhammad Abdul Sami Siddiqui, a well-known Urdu poet and a professor of English at Maulana Azad National Urdu University, Hyderabad. It is an equal honor to me to welcome other eminent speaker and a highly experienced personality, Dr. Rajeshri Govindrao Barvikar, Assistant Professor, Department of English at Shivaji University, Kolhapur, Maharashtra. I welcome the esteemed staff members of Palamuru University. I welcome the media friends who are online now. Last but not least, my wholehearted welcome to all the participants of this national webinar. The title of this webinar is Nature's Ire as Catastrophe Reflected in Literature. Now, I request Professor Gudur Manoja Garu, Chairperson, Board of Studies, Department of English, Palamuru University, to introduce the concept of this webinar. Professor Manoja Garu.
Good morning to one and all. A hearty, warm welcome to the speakers and all the dignitaries whom Dr. Chari was mentioning. As our topic is Nature's Ire as Catastrophe Reflected in Literatures, we planned it as per the current times. And it is a misconception in this region that literatures are only, they deal with a metaphysical kind of things, not reflecting the day-to-day hardcore realities. Unlike, literatures always reflected the societal problems and every nuance in the form of their writings. Nature and literature are intertwined, and literature is reflective of nature. All ancient literatures dealt with nature, its benevolence, its ire, leading to catastrophe. May it be apocalyptic in biblical writings in Hebrew, may it be pralay in South Asian and Oriental writings, may it be Andapinda Brahmanda coming to the Desi literatures. This concept of IR as catastrophe, because the South Asiatic literatures, the concept of literature has begun with the catastrophe only. And that is the main thing. As we take catastrophe in the Shakespearean tragedies, in Greek tragedies, as it is the pinnacle of the action, the pinnacle of the nature's calamities, nature's catastrophes, reflected in literatures always. Most of the Genesis narratives speak of these features. Literature is most suited form to imagining the power of the non-human and nature, as in the ancient epics, be it Hindu Ramayana or Greek Odyssey, or say Urdu Dastans, Buddhist Jataka tales, and in various African and Asian oral traditions and narratives. Literature always have a public function when in oral narratives or in writings. Man also has a sense of humble dependence on nature. Man and nature interact dialectically in such a way that when society develops, man, assuming himself more powerful, in turn becomes more dependent on nature. With a break from the traditional attitudes towards nature and environment, there are many changes both on mankind and nature. An indigenous oral concept goes like this: whatever I dig from thee, O Mother Earth, may that have a quick recovery again. It is from a African oral narrative. The same is reflected in the writings of Udgeru Nunikal, who is an Aboriginal writer. She, in her poems, We Are Going, that as the tribes are moving away, the Borarings are vanishing away. It is very much applicable throughout the world, and those things particularly are reflected in literatures only. And actually, from Mary Catwalker, how she turned from the modernity to getting back to the nature is a very rememberable action in her writings. Another mentionable work here I want to mention is Adam Shoemaker's Black Words and White Page, a collection of Aboriginal literatures from 1929 to 88, where the disasters, calamities, and catastrophes in relation to man and nature are very much represented. And as Indians, we must also remember these things, yet in India, are in oral only. In oral forms only. It is a great time for us to put them, these expressions, these tribal experiences in literatures. Nature, nature's recent and its ire started showing up when the modern concept believed that man and nature are different entities, and man is considered to be supreme and has the power to interfere in the natural discourse of nature. This
One by one questions తీసుకుందామా
anthropocentric,
లేకపోతే సార్ లైక్ విల్ టేక్
this
short
anthropocentric,
and then you tend to
this anthropocentric plan to believe that he is the center of the universe. Nature's recent reflected as ecological imbalance and global warming and many other things. Thus, the ecocentric balance is always imbalanced with this anthropocentric dealings of modern world. The famous anthropologist Indian English writer Amitav Ghosh's non-fiction, the recent non-fiction, The Great Derangement, Climate Change and the Unthinkable is very good expression of all these topics. It is a good work which explains the relation between nature and literature. Recent researchers in eco-criticism say that environmental catastrophe does not lie before us. It does not lie before in front of us, but we are standing in the midst of it. That means to say, we are in the ecological catastrophe. May it be corona, may it be any other pandemic or epidemic or any other virus bacteria. We are amidst the catastrophe of nature. And here I would like to mention whether it is poetry of Gulzar or it is Mahamari ki kavitaएं, the pandemic poetries are the Corona kavitaएं, that is the poetry on Corona in Telugu and all other regional languages. We are very much in print, very much on social media, that literature is going to record all these experiences, particularly Gulzar Saab's poetry. It has made its note. Translation by Pavan Kumar and others are very notable remarks on this poem. And particularly at the all these decolonization movements separated man from nature and from non-humans and relegated the elements and animals to the jaunts of mere fantasy, horror, and science fiction. This trend, in turn, also is very harmful to literature. In this background, people expect people expect natural disasters as the new normal norm to be managed by politicians and bureaucrats and to be solved by technology based or technology driven corporate enterprises. We are ignoring the fact at this juncture of time that the enraging of nature is reflected upon us. Still, we look forward for the all other futures to take out this problem particularly. The unity of man with nature is an idea that has acceptance across many faiths. I'll stop. Across many faiths. May it be religion, may it be belief, and these are they are accepted across the world, and literature serves as a archive cultural archive which mediates between man and nature and facilitates strategies of renaturalization through the retranslation of nature's language and through reflection on human embeddedness in nature. The bitter truth is that human actions which violate the laws of nature, the harmony of biosphere, threaten to bring disaster, and it may turn out to be universal, like in the present situations. The words of ancient wisdom say, live closer to nature and its eternal laws will protect you. It is in Hebrew, it is in all ancient languages. And I repeat it, live closer to nature and its eternal laws will protect you. That here, I would like to end with note that with these sentences, when recently we came across with our Telangana tribes, they were saying, Amma, we don't come across these disasters because we live with the nature. And it is you people, if you give us masks, if you give us sanitizers, we'll use them for people like you coming from outside to protect yourself, because nature protects us. We live in the nature, we are naturally distanced, we live in that pattern, and nature naturally takes care of it. This is a lesson to all the academic world, and that we have to take up these measures to record the corona experiences, corona narratives, particularly as they are coming out. It's not only science and medical world, it is literature that is also recording the pandemic effects and our ways and our resources to face it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Manoj Garu. You have very aptly conceptualized the central idea of today's webinar. The message is clear that while hazards are natural, disasters are not. An earthquake that happens in an uninhabited area is not considered a disaster. While earthquakes, floods, and storms are natural hazards, they lead to deaths and damages, that is disasters, that result from human acts of omission and commission rather than from acts of nature. A hazard becomes a disease because its impact threatens the lives and livelihoods of people who are often vulnerable due to discrimination and marginalization, inequitable access to resources, knowledge, and support, as well as rapid urbanization, environmental degradation, and also the climate change. Professor Manoj Garu rightly said about these people. The message is very clear that hazards are natural, disasters are not. Thank you very much, Professor Manoj Garu, for conceptualizing today's webinar. Now, let me have the privilege of introducing the chief guest and the registrar, Palamuru University, Professor Pindi Pavan Kumar Garu, to the participants. Dr. Pindi Pavan Kumar presently is serving as the registrar, Palamuru University, Mahabub Nagar, Telangana State. He is a professor in the Department of Microbiology, Palamuru University. He is a DAD Fellow, Young Scientist Awardee, and a UGC Research Awardee too. He served in many capacities as Principal, University College, EC Member, Director, IQAC, Dean, Development, and UGC Affairs, Palamuru University. He has more than 10 years of teaching experience and 22 years of research experience. To his credit, he has 110 publications. I underscore, to his credit, he has 110 publications. Two of his research scholars completed PhD under his able supervision, and 5 of the scholars are pursuing their PhD. Professor Pindi Pavan Kumar Garu is surely an example of motivation to all. Now, thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. I request the chairperson and the principal of PG College, Palamuru University, Dr. Noorjahan ma'am, to give the inaugural address. Then we will request the OSD Garu. Then we will have the privilege of the address from Professor Pindi Pavan Kumar Garu. Now, may I request the chairperson and the principal of PG College, Dr. Noorjahan Garu, to give the inaugural address on this national webinar. Thank you.
Very good afternoon to all. On behalf of Palamuru University, I welcome all the participants, guests, chief guest, Professor Pindi Pavan Kumar sir, Registrar, Palamuru University, Dr. Madhusudan Reddy Garu, OSD to Vice Chancellor, and all the eminent speakers of today's webinar and the participants the faculty members from the various institutions, and the students, research scholars, and all the academicians who have gathered today in this webinar. I welcome you all to this webinar. So I'm happy on behalf of university. I congratulate the convener of webinar, Dr. Srinadachari Garu, and the BOS chairman of Department of English, Professor Manoja Garu, for taking initiative to rightly selecting the correct subject or the topic for the webinar. As we are in this situation, we are undergoing in the same situation. So I think it is an apt title or topic for the discussions by the academicians in this pandemic situation. So I once again congratulate the organizing team on behalf of university administration. Then talking, as Manoja Madam has already introduced the webinar very elaborately, I think I'm not to belong to this subject, but yes, as rightly said, Madam, we are in facing this pandemic. I think this pandemic, in the one way, for everybody, it is a like a sad note or a very dangerous situation. But I think it is a bliss for the literature, because there is a lot of improvement or inputs which were going in the literary section in this corona pandemic situation. We have been seeing or witnessed this contributions in the form of poetry, in the form of the real situation which was faced by the literary eminence. They are putting their own experiences, own feelings in the form of literary contributions. Really, it's a very good time for the literary contributions. I think this seminar will be putting some efforts to this improvement or the contributions to the literature, and that can be useful for the future generations, how this situation has psychologically affected the people and what are the psychological conditions which was faced by the people, and how we have to face the challenges. Because as I'm from a science background, rightly said by the Darwin, survival for the fittest. At last, the nature selects the strongest one. So we must be strong in order to survive in this pandemic situation, not to be worried about this disaster or catastrophe or the pandemic, but we have to overcome with all the immunity or the mental strength or the psychological strength. We have to overcome all these things so that we can be setting a right example for the future generations, that yes, no pandemic can affect the human species, and the existence of human species or the evolution of human species will be boosting up their immunity, so that in coming next generation, we have a better genes to overcome this pandemic situation. So I hope this webinar will help us to share our feelings and contribute something to the academics. So thank you once again for giving this opportunity to share my views on this media front or the tech front. So thank you everybody, and hope enjoy this webinar, all the sessions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nurjahan Garu. Thank you for gracing the occasion and sharing your, greeting us and wishing us all the success. May I now request our officer on special duty to Vice Chancellor, Dr. D. Madhusudan Reddy Garu, to share his valuable views on this webinar. Over to Dr. Madhusudan Reddy Garu.
Thank you, sir. So good morning, one and all. It's my pleasure to be a part of this wonderful webinar. Title being Nature's Air as Catastrophe in Literature. And literature and science will go together many times. But only thing is, in science, we work with more we work with the brain and less with heart. Literature part in general microbiology, where we start with bubonic plague, which was a pandemic which occurred during 13th century, where around 75 to 200 million deaths were there in just a span of 7 years. So there they mention about a very famous poem like Ringa Ringa Roses, pocket full of roses, achu achu, and we all fall down. So that is actually a symptom of that bubonic plague. So like that, actually, this literature and science both are intertwined. And when it comes to this webinar, even poets actually they play a vital role. Even our honorable Chief Minister KCR Garu, he has appealed all the poets to show their concern towards this this corona infection actually. So even where many poets have responded and they have given wonderful insights into that one. So literature, when it tries to say something, actually it reaches common man, because they try to put it in a simple way where it can spread easily. So really, I thank our honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, Sri Rahul Bajaj Garu, Registered Professor Pindi Pawan Kumar Garu, for permitting to execute such wonderful webinar. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Dr. Madhusudan Reddy Garu. Thank you very much, sir. I now sincerely request the chief guest of this webinar and our registrar, Professor Pindi Pawan Kumar Garu, to address the participants of this national webinar. Over to Professor Pindi Pawan Kumar Garu.
Very good morning. Respected Honorable Vice Chancellor of Palamuru University, Sri Rahul Bajaj Garu, IAS, and my dear colleague friend, Dr. D. Madhusudan Reddy, OSD to Vice Chancellor. And today's webinar chairperson, Dr. M. Noorjahan Madam, Principal, University Postgraduate College, Palamuru University, and one more chairperson, BOS, Professor G. Manoja Garu, Professor, Department of English, and Director, PG Center, Palamuru. And today's webinar convener, Dr. V. Srinathachari, Head and Assistant Professor, and also Additional Controller of Examinations, Palamuru University. And two more colleague friends, Dr. Sandhya Tiwari, Assistant Professor, Director, Cell and IQAC, and Ms. J. Malavi, Assistant Professor, Director, SC and SC Cell, and Ms. K. Srilata, Assistant Professor, and the Department of English, and included PG centers, Gadwan, Vankarti, and Kolhapur, all the faculty members. Today, they are conducting a national webinar. First of all, I would like to congratulate all the faculty members of Department of English, because the university organizing number of seminars and conferences, workshops, faculty development programs in a series. But due to this corona COVID-19 pandemic situation, now we planned for a series of webinars to be conducted from each department. So in this scenario, I really appreciate the Department of English has taken initiation to conduct a webinar at national level. So it's a really great opportunity for the students, the teachers, and also for the all participants to learn and exchange their knowledge, and also they can have a good debate, and they can go for the good interaction with the eminent speakers. Like today's the eminent speakers, the Professor MD A. Sami Siddiqui, the Director, Center for Professional Development, Urdu Medium Teachers, from Maulana Azad, National Urdu University, Hyderabad, and one more eminent speaker, Dr. Rajashri Barwekar, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Shivaji University, Kolhapur, Maharashtra. So, if you see, the literature and nature are the two inseparable non-living creations of the universe, but inspire, influence, and imbibe very creature. Sometimes I feel it is almost impossible to determine which one originated earlier. Yes, I mean it. When I say literature, it is not just the collection of rhythmic words that human created and practiced, but something beyond that. I think human language is the youngest of all the creatures in this universe, and so is the literature. I believe there is more beautiful literature being co-created amongst the other creatures which is behind human understanding. Literature usually portrays the dimensions of life: love, pain, sorrow, pleasure, anger, and grief, always in a unique and dynamic way. It is a cosmic reaction with the nature and transcribes into emotion before it is written on a piece of paper. Poet always is a delivering mother. The emotions of nature is just the reflections of human persona. Nature's smile is blessing. Nature's ire, distraction. It's human character and intelligence that decides the consequence. I hope your poetic competency on the catastrophic reflections of nature's ire today would definitely drive the human in a more sensible and responsible way. As a microbiologist, I would like to say something that this pandemic situation, because how we are passing through since last 3.5 months. So according to science, according to our knowledge, the corona strains, different strains, so more virulence, medium, and least. So different type of these virus, a type of strains are occupied different places, like different countries. And within our country, if you see the Delhi and Mumbai, how those strains are affecting when compared with the other places. So what I feel, there is so number of different strains are there really affecting on the human health. So we should be very careful, because we don't have any genetic mapping of all these strains, because whatever the scientists are looking forward for the solution for the vaccines or the medicine, but it is possible they should understand first the genetic mapping of all these strains, and they should have the conclusion with the variation or variability of the genetic mapping, so that depending upon the virulence, we can go for the production of monoclonal antibodies or the other vaccines, so that we can treat the patients. So with this, I would like to congratulate the Department of English, because apart from their busy schedules as administrators, because everybody is working for the administration, and in spite of their busy schedules, they are taking care of the academics. So I really congratulate all the faculty members for conducting such a national webinar. Thank you. Thank you so much, one and all.
Thank you, Professor Pawan Kumar Garu. In fact, shall I? Anjanil Garu? Yes, sir. Shall I? Thank you, Professor Pawan Kumar Garu. You have rightly said. In fact, during this COVID-19 pandemic situation, conducting such a webinar is really not a simple thing. This is, honestly speaking, the idea has germinated in the mind of Professor Manoj Garu. In fact, we thought of organizing such a webinar after a few days, but she coordinated with everybody. We had video conferencing and we discussed the logistics and all. And we thought of going for this. And the experience of Professor Manoj Garu, our chairperson, the best teacher awardee, and also who is the pioneer for the Gondi script. She has encouraged us, and now we are able to conduct this. So I thank profusely each and every colleague of our department and also our administrators for encouraging us and making this happen now. May I now request my colleague, Ms. K. Srilata Garu, to extend our sincere thanks to our chief guest and registrar and respected OSD sir and principal madam for gracing this occasion. Over to Srilata Garu.
వింటలేవా నువ్వు?
Good afternoon, one and all. Good afternoon, one and all. So we are privileged to have Sami sir once again with us in this national webinar. Prior to this, you were also a part of the national seminar conducted by the Department of English, Palamuru University, and I thank you wholeheartedly on behalf of the Department of English for your presence, sir. Thank you very much.
Really, we take this opportunity to thank our chief guest, Pindi Pawan Kumar Garu, for encouraging us in conducting this national webinar. Special thanks to OSD sir, Dr. Madhusudan Reddy Garu, for your valuable time and your invaluable words. And I thank the chairperson of this webinar and our principal, Dr. Nurjan Garu, for supporting us. Thank you, Srilata ma'am. Now, may I request my good colleague, Ms. Malavi, Assistant Professor, Director, SC/ST Cell, Palamuru University, to introduce our today's speaker, Professor Muhammad Abdul Sami Siddiqui, sir. Over to Malavi, madam.
So much for the kind introduction. Respected in charge Vice Chancellor Sri Boja Rahul Garu, Register Palamuru University, Professor Pindi Pavan Garu. Officer on Special Duty, Dr. Madhusudan Reddy Garu. Professor G. Manoja, Board of Studies, Chairperson. Respected Principal of University College, Palamuru University, Dr. Noor Jahan Garu. Head of the Department English, Dr. Srinatha Chari sir. Warm welcome and good morning to all of you. Good afternoon. And also, I welcome all of you for our webinar. I'm sorry, I have forgotten to mention my dear scholarly friends. A warm welcome to our webinar. And now, Malavi is here on behalf of the Department of English, Palamuru University, with all the pleasure of introducing to you one of our young and dynamic speakers of the day, Professor Muhammad Abdul Sami Siddiqui. Professor Siddiqui is heading the Center for Professional Development of Urdu Medium Teachers, CPDU-MT, Maulana Azad National Urdu University. Professor Sami has been supervising both MPhil and PhD scholars, besides being the subject coordinator for distance education MANU, and also acting as joint dean of students welfare MANU Hyderabad. Professor Sami has published 30 research papers in various reputed journals and has the credit of publishing 4 more books. The titles are Tarif, a poetic collection in Urdu, Violence in Indian English Drama. The third one is Reflection on Mahesh Dattani, and the fourth volume is Re-Exploring Indian Drama in English. He has 2 founded research projects. One of them is Teaching English Literature Problem and Solution, which was funded by UGC New Delhi. He has one more project which was funded by his own mother university, Manu. Professor Sami is a true academic who has been teaching, writing, publishing, besides being the editor of a reputed student teachers friendly journal called Lit Journal. And he's also advisory board member of a good number of the other journals. Now, may I request Professor Sami to share with us his valuable information, thoughts, and insights. Professor Siddhi, am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Thank
sir,
you,
please.
Thank you, ma'am, for your kind words.
It's a pleasure, sir.
So I begin with thanking Professor Manoja Garu and Dr. Srinatha Chari sir and all other organizers from Palamuru University and my co-speaker, Dr. Rajeshri Barvekar ma'am from Kolhapur University. And I'm especially thankful to all the participants who have joined from various parts of the country. The topic has already been introduced by Dr. Manoja Garu. Now, what I have decided is I shall be talking about a few things related to doing research with these disaster narratives. So the title of my presentation is Disaster Narratives for Literary Research. I request the host to either share it or allow me to share whatever is feasible.
Speak and we'll give him access so that he will be at his convenience.
Right. I think they are sharing.
Sorry.
Well, the first thing is as the title of the webinar suggests, we are looking for the responses, the literary responses to various disasters. And I'm thankful again to Professor Manoja ma'am that she actually dealt with she has already mentioned many of the important texts. So if you go to Jester, you will find a very good paper on plague in classical narratives, classical literature. And it lists from the Greek writings and then among the English writers as well. So since the pandemic is on, we have seen many of the scholarly writings coming up, and recently there was a newspaper write-up in Hindu, and which mentioned many of the classical writings dealing with pandemics and disasters, epidemics. Then the other thing. So will you please share that?
Is it coming up, sir? Are you able to view that, sir?
Sir, I'm able to view your screen, sir.
Okay. Is the PowerPoint all right, sir?
Just a minute.
Yeah.
No, PowerPoint is not working, sir. Just your screen is there.
Okay. 1 second, sir. Please.
Yes, sir.
No, sir. Is it all right, sir, now?
No, sir.
No. Okay, 1 minute, sir. We will make you the host so that the control will be with you, sir.
No, okay. I'll continue speaking.
Yeah.
So instead of waiting for the PPT being shared,
yeah,
I'll continue speaking. So the point that I wanted to make was there has been various responses.
Yeah.
The other thing is that the other point is that some of the writings were not exactly related to disasters. We as the readers have contextualized them to disasters. For instance, one of the poets that Professor Manoja mentioned, Gulzar's poem, or the other poetry which was being circulated on various social media platforms like Ghar se nikalte kyun ho and so on. So that was not written keeping in view the COVID pandemic. It was written with certain different context, but now we see that it matches with what's happening today. The other point is disasters and epidemics have always remained there. They were always there in literature. They have made me the host, and now I can share.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Well, sir, instead of waiting for that, I'll continue speaking without PPT because it's taking time.
Thank you, sir. Inconvenience is bigger. Thank you.
No, that's fine. Right, that happens. Well, so the point that I was making was people have responded or writers have responded to disasters and epidemics. That's true. But at the same time, what has happened is especially in the recent, what we are seeing in the past 3-4 months, that many of the texts which were not written for the keeping in view with the disasters, we are contextualizing them to disasters. The second thing is disasters have were there in all literary writings as part of symbols, metaphors, and motives. Now, if you look at if I can mention Shakespeare's King Lear for instance, so it talks about storm, but the play is not about the storm, right? Storm functions there just as a means of communicating some idea, right? So people have writers have always used disasters in their poetry and all forms of writing as part of symbols, as part of motives, and as part of metaphors. And now that this pandemic is affecting human beings on such a large scale, the metaphor of illness can also we can go back to that and trace that in various forms of writing. Well, the other thing that I would like to mention here is disasters being natural and man-made. So uh, if we are talking about storms, floods, earthquakes, they are the natural disasters, and many people have written about them. I'll give one example of the narratives relating to tsunami. After the tsunami, we have a lot of novels which were written as the aftermath of tsunami. If you just Google it, you will find a long list. In fact, one of my scholars is working on disaster narratives, and what he could find is he could make a list of novels, especially novels dealing with earthquakes, floods, and all sorts of disasters. And he has come up with a list of more than 55 novels published in the last 20 years. And this is this I believe is just a fact that makes us aware of the possibility of doing research in this area. The other part is disasters can be man-made as well. So if that is the case, I'll give you one example of Bhopal gas tragedy, and which was a major tragedy in India. And we find many Indian writers who have written either memoirs or autobiographical writings, or some of them have written novels as well. So you will find at least 10 plus novels dealing with or written in the backdrop of Bhopal gas tragedy. What happens when we analyze a disaster narrative is we look at a personal narrative and we try to understand uh, a situation which was prevalent for some time, some days, and which has affected large scale of humanity. Now, what are the themes in the disaster narratives, or what are the themes in the text that deal with disasters? This is again a very different thing, a very strange thing for me. But this has been the practice that we start romanticizing the disaster. What we do is, instead of being afraid of the disaster, we talk about the human chivalry. We talk about man being able to control it. And you will find various writers, various writings that talk about how man could control or how man can have an upper hand over the disasters. Whereas this is not the situation. I'll give you one example from a Marathi poem. It's a very popular poem in Marathi literature. Uh, it's a poem written by Kusumagraj, and the name of the poem is Kana. The whole poem describes the situation where a person affected by a flood comes to meet his teacher, and towards the end of the poem, the teachers wants to help him, and he is about to help him with some money, but what the affected person replies is, "Sir, I came just to meet you and just to have the moral support from you, and kana or my backbone is still right intact, so I can fight with it. I'm ready to fight with it. I'm going to fight with it on my own. Now this example, this kind of thing that we talk about in most of the writings, most of the poems that deal with or that use disasters. For instance, in Urdu poetry, you will find many examples where fighting with a flood, fighting with an earthquake is not a big deal, right? It's a regular thing for me, right? And I'm born and brought up among the floods. So they keep on telling this. The second reaction to disasters is we tend to learn something from them. So the second thematic side of disaster narratives is learning from disasters. So there are various reasons how and why we learn from disasters. Right in the beginning of COVID-19 pandemic, we have seen various videos which told us that the nature is on holiday and the nature is now regenerating itself, and uh, how the pollution level, for instance, of Delhi has come down because of the lockdown. Well, so learning from disasters is a perpetual theme, and in many of the writings, you will find that people have learned from disasters. And there is a tendency, because India being a religiously very people of Indians, they do believe in religion, and they follow religion religiously. So we go back to religious scriptures, and uh, we go back to the religious scriptures, and we try to learn from them, right? And from in all religious texts, in all religious scriptures, you will find uh, various reasons for this kind of for nature getting angry. So one of the reasons is the sins of human beings. So if you go back to Dostoevsky or other writers, you will find the Christian theme of sin, suffering, and salvation. And if you come to even to Indian writings, and you will find that many of the times the the disaster is viewed as the result of human man's actions. Okay, one major the third item, the third thematic concern that I would like to mention is the political side of disaster. Now what happens is many of if you look into the narratives, disasters are being politicized, and 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 literature is quite interdisciplinary in nature, right? Literature, because it's a reflection of life, it reflects all aspects of life. So it's not that it's not that whatever political thing is happening right now only, or uh, politicizing of disaster is happening right now only. uh, it has happened in previous stages as well. I'll give you one example. Flash floods, or floods in Chennai, and floods in Kashmir, and floods in Uttarakhand, right? Floods in Kerala. So they too were politicized, and the narratives set up uh, by these during these disasters were also politicized. And if you read the reports, they will give you an idea that whatever dominant political idea is there uh, is was being propagated. So the same happens during COVID-19 as well, that uh, politically, right, different narratives are set up to suit the power, right? Now, my concern, my point, the next point that I would like to make related to exploring the disaster narratives is that instead of just looking into the novels, instead of just looking into the autobiographies or dramas or and poems, right? It's time that we as scholars move towards the other forms of writing, right? In the days of cultural studies, we can surely we have started analyzing, right, how the movies, they have talked about disasters, and how the movies have been prophetic, that they could prejudge, and they could tell about disasters or disasters similar to COVID-19 beforehand. The movies that were released in the beginning of this decade, sorry, in the beginning of this millennium, they talk about pandemics similar to COVID. Then, uh, if you just go to the there is a very wonderful write up. When Dr. Manoja asked me to talk on this topic, I was searching, and I could find a very good piece of research done on how the President of America has delivered different speeches at the time of disasters, right? And what was the structure of the speech? So if he's speaking for 10 minutes, for how many minutes he will talk about uh, the actual situation, then he will move to how we are going to fight against it, and finally some packages or some other inputs related. A similar kind of study can be done, because our prime minister has addressed the nation frequently uh, during the last 3 months. So how what was the language, and what were the ideas shared, and that can also be, so the speeches delivered by the powerful people, be it prime minister, or in case of Maharashtra and other states as well, the chief ministers, they have come up and spoken to the people. So the speeches of these leaders can also be analyzed. There can be one more way of doing research related to disaster in the literary boundaries, and that is collecting the oral history, collecting uh, the views of those who were fighting, who were on the frontliners, right? And then collecting the stories and the ideas from the patients, right? So there can be a doctor's narrative of COVID, there can be a police narrative of COVID. Similarly, so as a scholar, let's not confine ourselves to the written word. Let's not confine ourselves to the published books. Let's come up with some new ideas, and and that many of us have started doing as part of our at least small papers or such presentations, or in case of some right in some universities of India, they are allowing us to study the public discourse related to some event, and that too in the confinements of PhD in English or PhD in literature. Well, advertisements is another area. I was very impressed by the Lifebuoy ad in the beginning of this lockdown, because it was the only brand which was telling that you can wash your hands with Lifebuoy or any other soap available to you as well. So even that amount of social concern has made people, or it has emotionally, it has appealed the people. So you can go on analyzing the advertisements, that how they have shifted, right? In the beginning, nobody was claiming, no soap ad was claiming that it can cure COVID-19. But now, if you look in the background, they are telling that if you wash hand with this soap, we will fight battle against, right? We will fight battle against COVID. Okay. I had actually collected some cartoons for you. I had collected some sketches for you from a very well-known cartoonist, Satish Acharya. I don't know, due to some reason, I'm not able to share that with you. So after the presentation, after my speaking is over, the presentation is there with Srinatha Achari Garu. So he will share the whole PPT with you, and you can go through that. Well, apart from crossing the genres you can fix. The other thing is theoretical, from which theory we can approach to disaster narratives. And this was already mentioned, that we can approach to disaster narratives from eco-critical theories, from the point of view of earth-centered approach to literature. We can also approach to disaster narratives from the point of view of trauma, right? We can also approach to disaster narratives from the point of view of illness narratives. There is a very good book which relates to medical humanities, and which is a seminal book in disability studies as well. And the title of the book is Illness as Metaphor, right? So how we treat the disabled, right? There is a lot of stigmatization, right? Being a patient should not have been a problem, but what we have seen in different parts of the country, that even today people are afraid to tell that they have the symptoms of COVID, right? If you have fever, you are afraid to tell your neighbor that I have fever. If you have cough, you are afraid to talk to your colleague, and because you will be blamed, right, of spreading it, right? So stigmatization is also one of the things that we should look into, and from the point of view of disability studies, or from the point of view of what you call it, just the way so the point was, you can mention it, you can explore it, actually you can examine it from those point of views. Well, disaster narratives have their own language. So how the language has changed, what new has come up in the language, right? There in the academic circles and even in the political circles, there was a discussion over social distancing and physical distancing, which term is correct, and why social distancing is a wrong term and why physical distancing is a correct word. Like that, there are many new words that have come up in our language, in our daily use, and through them they have come into our literature as well. So you can analyze the language of disaster narratives. If you could do how it has affected different genders differently, right? Different ages differently. So you can approach to disaster narratives from the perspective of gender, from the perspective of age, from class, right? Because all our migrant workers, right? In the mid of COVID, what we have witnessed is the problem of migrant workers. Yeah. So COVID has affected different classes differently. And if it has affected people belonging to different communities differently, that can also be examined at a later stage. The only thing is that if you're working on disaster narratives which have happened a little before, it will be easier for you. If you're working directly on COVID-19 narratives, then you will have to be a little cautious, because we are in the midst of it. And whenever you want to examine something, by staying in the midst of something, you cannot examine it, right? You need to distance yourself from that, and then you can examine. So these were some of the ideas that I wanted to share with you, and I sincerely apologize for not being able to share my PPT. And I request once again Dr. Srinath Achari to please share it with all the participants, right, who have registered for your thing. I thank you all. If there are any questions, they are welcome. Or
Thank you, sir.
whatever the host decides.
Yeah. First, may I request Professor Siddiqui sir to withdraw the host. Now you are the host, so that we will have the control.
Okay, sir.
So thank you.
Just a minute, sir.
Yeah, sure.
At the top of the three dots, you can select.
Hi, yes, sir. Please explain what at the top of the three dots.
You just click there and withdraw, make Srinathachari sir as host.
Okay, sir. Just okay, sir. Actually, this waiting room message is continuously coming. That's why.
It's all right, sir.
I'm in the meeting settings. So
no, you are at the top of your. You just go for a grid view.
Right, sir.
Grid view at the top of the yours video. Right, three dots are there.
Okay. So I'm using it on my phone, so I don't know.
Question అడగమనండి they will answer. Feedback you are ready to మాట్లాడు. Question answer session.
మేడం మాట్లాడతారా? మనం హోస్ట్ అయితే కంట్రోల్ మన చేతిలో.
అయితే సార్ను తీసుకో. Question ఎవరన్నా అడగమనండి.
Yeah, may I request the participants to pose questions if you have, so that in the meantime, Professor Sami sir will answer. In the meantime, we will fix the technical problem.
Right, sir.
If they raise their hand, we'll unmute them.
This Galaxy M30 has raised his hand.
Galaxy M30.
Oh, సార్ అన్మ్యూట్ చేయాలి కదా.
Siddiqui sir, you have to unmute him.
Okay. Right. Okay, can they just write the question? I'll answer.
Sir, you can send a question through chat box also, sir.
Right.
Yeah, I request the participants to pose the question in the chat box, so that professor will be able to access.
ఏమైంది? బయటికి వెళ్ళి ఇవ్వడం అయిపోయింది. ఫోన్ చేసి ఒకసారి ఎగ్జిట్ కండి సార్, మేము
మీరు చెప్పండి.
మీటింగ్ నుంచి లీవ్ అయితే అయిపోతుంది.
లీవ్ అయితే అయిపోయింది. ఎస్, నేను ఇది ఆఫ్ కావద్దు అని చెప్తున్నాను.
ఇక్కడ రికార్డ్ ఆప్షన్ ఉంది సార్. హైమావతి
తర్వాత ఇది కానీ మేడం మాట్లాడుతుంది.
నేను రికార్డ్ ఆన్ దిస్ కంప్యూటర్ పెట్టేస్తాను.
Video online. Madam, invite.
Yeah, let me thank Professor Sami Siddiqui sir. Yeah, may I request the participants to mute your audio so that there won't be any disturbance. Thank you for your patience and cooperation, because presently we are in the COVID-19 situation and we have to expect the unexpected, and such meager and simple technical issues are common, and we have to overcome all these things, and thanks for the patience. May I now request my colleague, Ms. K. Srilata Madam, to extend our sincere thanks to our speaker, Professor Muhammad Abdul Sami Siddiqui sir. Srilata Madam.
Phone చేయండి సార్, ఇప్పుడు లాగిన్ కావాలంటే
లాగిన్ ఉండండి లాగిన్ అయితే కూర్చోండి. లాగిన్ అయినాక థ్యాంక్స్ ఇంటారు కదా, ఇంట్రడక్షన్ థ్యాంక్స్ వినాలి.
So thank you. You will again be relogging so that we give the access. Thank you, sir. Yeah, please. Thank you.
వచ్చినాయన కన్నన్ ఉన్నాడు. కన్నన్ సార్ని పెట్టండి. ఆయన ఒక్కడే ఉంటాడు, మీ మీద ఎంత ప్రేమ.
మేడం అడగండి, అడ్మిట్ చేశాను. అడ్మిట్ చేసినా
ఫోర్త్ విండోలోకి వెళ్ళండి సార్, ఉంటే లాస్ట్లో
So good afternoon, sir. We are so privileged to have you here, sir, in this national webinar, and I thank you wholeheartedly on behalf of the Department of English for your marvelous discourse, which focused on literary responses to the natural disasters, sir. Your explanation was outstanding, and it was very much relevant to the present situation, sir. And you spoke on the way how the nature's anger and it is a result of the man's action, and you also discussed the political side of the narrative, and you have thrown light on many angles like romanticizing the disasters, etc. And so you also spoke about the we shouldn't focus only on the forms of writing, but also on the movies which also talk about these natural disasters, sir. And you have also talked about the some works like illness as metaphor, and you finally you also made a point about the migrant workers, the difficulties which were faced by these people during the lockdown period. So thank you very much for your valuable discourse, sir. And of course, and the cartoons added spice to your lecture, sir. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Srilata ma'am. Really, Professor Sami sir, by throwing light upon the literary responses to disasters. Disasters as symbols and motives. Natural disasters versus man-made disasters. Personal accounts of catastrophes. The themes of romanticizing. Learning and politicizing once in various forms. And also underscoring the importance of eco-criticism and trauma theory. The speech has been quite impressive. and relevant to the present COVID-19 pandemic situation. Thanks a lot, Professor Sami sir.
Thank you, sir.
Now, let me have the privilege of introducing another eminent speaker today and a highly experienced personality, Dr. Srimati Rajshri Govindarao Barvekar, Assistant Professor and Department of English at Shivaji University, Kolhapur, Maharashtra. Dr. Srimati Rajshri Govindarao Barvekar is a self-made personality and a synonym for dedication and commitment. She has 26 years of teaching experience. She has completed a UGC minor research project entitled The Concept of Tradition in F.R. Lewis, T.S. Eliot, Michael Foucault, and Ananda Kumaraswamy, a comparative study. She has also completed a major research project entitled Cultural Practices, the Folklore and Dialects of Generic Trading Communities and Baltaders of Kolhapur District, an analytical study. The project was sponsored by Indian Council of Social Science Research, New Delhi, ICSSR. The grant was of 15 lakhs of rupees. 5 of her scholars completed PhD under her supervision and 6 are pursuing their PhD. 3 of the scholars have completed their MPhil and 3 more are in the process of completing their MPhil. Her areas of specialization are new literatures in English, Indian English literature, gender studies, post-colonial studies. She published 16 research articles, 4 textbook units, and 17 SIM units. To her credit, she presented 58 papers in various seminars and conferences. In a nutshell, she is a passionate teacher with compassionate heart. Really, I request Dr. Srimati Rajshri Govindarao Barvekar, Madam, to enlighten the participants, and for the idea of the participants, Madam will throw light upon the title, Envisioning a Catastrophe in Literature, Theory and Practice. Over to Dr. Srimati Rajshri Govindarao Barvekar, Madam.
Hello?
Ma'am. Ma'am, are you able to hear?
I'm able to hear you, but am I audible to all?
Ma'am, echo is coming, ma'am. Your video is not seen.
Just a minute, sir. Just a minute.
Definitely, definitely.
Ma'am, take your own time.
Take your own time, ma'am.
Yeah. Am I audible and visible? Yeah. Am I audible
you
and
are.
visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
You are audible, ma'am.
Ma'am, may I begin, sir?
Please, ma'am.
May
Thank
I
you.
begin, sir?
It's our
Good
privilege.
afternoon, all. Yeah. Good afternoon, all organizers and dear participants. At the outset, I thank the authorities of Palamuru University, Telangana State, Dr. V. Srinath Chari, convener and head Department of English, and his other colleagues in the department for giving me an opportunity to share my views. My special thanks are to Professor Manoja. It is really a fruitful academic endeavor during the lockdown period and COVID-19 crisis. We should look at this period from very positive approach and strengthen the students, strengthen the morale of students and teacher fraternity. Manoja ma'am told me yesterday that there are
Dr. Chari, please share the screen of the speaker, please. So, please share the screen of the speaker.
Got it, ma'am. Got it.
Okay. Shall I wait for a moment? Shall I wait?
Ma'am, go on, ma'am. We are able to hear. We fix the problem in between.
Okay. Yesterday, Manoja ma'am told me that there are many presentations, webinars arranged on post-COVID, and in our department, we have decided to go for slightly a different topic, though it is related to the present situation. We are interested in listening a different approach. So I thought that I am agree with Madam. It is true that it is premature to say what will happen after this pandemic, because we are in the mid of pandemic, and what is our future. But yes, we can probably predict about the changing. Yes, yes sir, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
You
Sir?
are clearly audible, ma'am.
Okay, okay. So it is premature to say what will happen. But yes, we can probably predict about the changing patterns, patterns of behavior, patterns of writing. Just now, Siddhaki sir talked about the different emerging forms. He talked about the different professionals' writings like police's diary, criminal diary. So the based on the COVID, post-COVID situation, but we are not certain what will happen, means whether this pandemic will change the things thoroughly or not. We are experiencing the overt changes in the economy and the patterns of behavior, but its undercurrents are different. And today I'm going to talk about envisioning catastrophe in literature, theory, and practice. Already, Dr. Siddhaki has talked about different approaches to assess uh, the catastrophe literature. I am also going to talk about the various approaches, but my categorization is different. I will take the different examples and the theories, because I personally believe that we cannot look these pandemic literature only from the ecological perspective or the eco-critical perspective. We should use the eclectic model. And in India, we know that we are in a hybridized culture, and we find the various perspectives on the culture. So we can look at this from the cultural point of view also. And as Sir told us about the various examples of the literature, I'm also going to tell you in the post-colonial period, there are very much um, uh, changes in the literatures. And again, we are also tending to the indigenous literature. So there is a lot of scope for the indigenous literature and the theories, as the politicians are talking about the nativism and the independence India. So on the economic level they are talking about, but certainly we will find the reflections of all these in the literature also. So I thought that all we know about the depiction of nature, maybe the positive side of nature or the negative side of nature in the literature, and in various forms, means in poetry, in fiction, in short stories, in the novels, in the non-fiction, and all these forms depict different forms of nature. So I will not talk about how a particular poet has, or how a particular writer, author has depicted the nature, but I will talk about, uh, according to the literary motive, how these writers across the world have categorized the catastrophe literature. So there are different names like catastrophe literature, apocalyptic literature. You know that nowadays science fiction is also one of the emerging area, not only in the British and American literature, but in the post-colonial literatures, like in Indian literature also we have the science fiction and popular literature. All of you know about Shiva trilogy. So I'm not trying to deal Shiva trilogy with pandemic, but I'm talking about the different literary forms emerging in the post-colonial period in the colonies, um, erstwhile colonies. Now I will discuss the various variations in the catastrophic literature and how the writers from the every corner of the world have categorized catastrophic literature and their literary motifs. I think it will be useful for the young scholars who are doing their MPhil and PhD research. And this is my humble attempt to guide them through my lecture. Um, Literature has always affected uh, literature has always affected the morality of the people, and other way literature has always tried to reflect life as it is or as it should be, and the disasters are historically part of human life. There are, as Siddhaki sir has referred about the man-made disasters and um, the natural disasters. Man-made disasters can be avoided with thought and efforts, but natural calamities or natural disasters cannot be controlled by man, and that is what we are experiencing today. All of you will agree with me that we cannot control this pandemic. There are many speculations um, over COVID-19 pandemic on different levels, such as health, economy, society, culture, psychology, etc. So some believe it's God's ways to bring us to our senses, while others think it as international conspiracy. I will not take the name of any country because this is not the right platform to talk about the political strategies. This might be the international conspiracy to take over the world, but it is not the topic of my discussion, as I mentioned. So we all are in an uncertain situation, and everyone is now thinking about the normality in life. Now, see, the organizers are wearing the masks, so it is very uncomfortable for them. So we are also looking for, but we are also looking for the routine. We want the normal routines. We want to come back to the normality in life. So these are the very minute things in our life, but they affect our psychology. So this social distancing and physical distancing already Mr. Dr. Siddhaki has mentioned in his speech. But if we look at pandemics in the past or any natural calamities or disasters in the past, we tend to conclude that historically pandemic forced humans to break with past and imagine their new world. And we are in the middle of this disaster. And at this juncture, we cannot arrive at any conclusion. How the world will change and on what level it will change means on economic level, how it will change. Is there a reversing of globalization or not? Then again, I have already mentioned about the nativization, nativistic theories, or on the economic level, the independent India, on cultural level, on historical level. How the concept of love will also change due to pandemic, because this is one of the important theme in the literature also, and this is one of the important emotion aspect of human life, and how the social distancing will change this meaning of love, the relationship between husband and wife, relationship between the friends. So we are also meeting through Zoom, so distancing, and this will change the human relationships. And literature can also be viewed as, so for the literary readers and students, um, literature is a guide in helping mankind. to deal with the disaster in a realistic and rational manner. Though literature is a fiction, is imagination, I am saying that literature helps us to deal with the disaster in a rational and realistic manner. Um, for for my convenience, I have made I have made the list, but due to the lack of time, I cannot prepare my PowerPoint presentation. If the students need the list of the books for their future research, I can share it with Dr. Srinath Chari sir or
Thank you.
Manoj.
Thank you.
So now it can be seen that academics across the discipline have prepared a frame of thought that try to classify, categorize, and generalize the catastrophic literature as per their literary motive. The tools of fictional literature allow to move the pendulum of time into future or into distant past to picturize a fantastic vision of catastrophe, which is also a significant component of a collective psyche of human society of every corner of the world. So it can be evidenced in the religious treatises, which Sir has mentioned earlier, in the cultural discourses and psychological deliberations as the most recurrent issues addressed across the time. I think one of the official member who is the professor of microbiology also talked about the scientific vision means in the medicinal field, and even madam also referred to the medical field. So uh, from every corner of the world and in the various fields we find the recurrent the issues are recurrently addressed, and in the contemporary world of pandemic it becomes very important to revisit or rethink the literature of catastrophe. We have the example of Old Man and the Sea. So in American literature, we have described it as a text for the MA student or BA student also. But in the context of pandemic or in the 21st century context, we have to look at it from a different angle. So, rethinking, revisioning, revisiting the literature is necessary. And see, some of you might have read these catastrophe literature as for the purpose of entertainment. I am deliberately using the word entertainment because when it is fictionalized, it becomes a thriller or some imaginative elements are there. So you know about the science fiction where the fusion of reality and imagination is there. So it becomes very interesting, and some impossible things are also there. So I have used the word um, I use the word deliberately. So revisiting of this catastrophe literature, which is prepared not only to entertain the readers with the fantastic picturization of destruction, but it also carries a very specialized didactic motive. Um, Basically, if we investigate into the inspiration of such kind of literature, we come across two very obvious things. One is the ancient mythical literature that carries the notion of total annihilation of earth due to certain divine scheme. All of you know about the notions of Christianity. All of you know about Adam and Eve, Adam and Eve's myth. So that is based on the notions of Christianity. Now, these annihilation um, of earth due to certain divine scheme, and the second is the fear that the man himself will destroy his amiable inhabitation in the name of machinization and modernity. So modernity is one of the evil, and perhaps you might have read uh, Mahatma Gandhi's Hind Swaraj, where he talks about the civilization, evils of civilization. And this is not the appropriate example here, but I am talking about the effect of machinization or modernity reflected in this philosophical treatises. The first inspiration is, in fact, a deeply rooted fear of total destruction in the mind of humanity, and the second is the cause that tends to materialize that fear into reality. Though the frame of thought is prepared with variety of angles and from different perspectives, it can be seen that an eclectic theory is absent. It also happens due to variety of literary motifs as per the different distinct cultural, religious, and social orientations of the authors. Though the literature is created in the response of a singular fear of catastrophe, its explorations has number of thematic and technical variations. It is open-ended. It is up to the reader, means the writer, the author presents it from his point of view, and it is up to the reader how it can be taken or interpreted. So there are number of thematic and technical variations. As a result, it becomes a bit difficult to prepare all-inclusive theory that we could use for every literature produced in this direction. Therefore, it also becomes very difficult to delimit its scope to a specific national literary tradition, or not even with a literature produced in a single language. The perspective should be broad and encompass all the possible variations found in the catastrophic literature. In general, we can enlist certain literary vehicles that are commonly used recurrently by the authors of the world. Now I will discuss some of the literary vehicles and the literary works. Okay. Uh, in most of the catastrophic literature, we find acute and hostile changes in nature. So the novels about earthquake, tsunami, eruption of volcano, cyclone. So all these are all three natural causes. So the cause is, all of you know about the cause and effect theory, which Voltaire discusses in his novel Candide. Okay, so for this section, I will refer the novel by Haruki Murakami's After the Quake. Haruki Murakami's After the Quake, which is the short story collection where you will find the different um, effects of the earthquakes. Then all of you know about Walter John Williams' The Rift, which is also a more realistic novel. Uh, for the young students and researchers, J.G. Ballard is a very popular writer. J.G. Ballard, who wrote about the apocalyptic fiction, J.G. Ballard, and his novel, The Wind from Nowhere. So it is about the effects of hurricane. So it is based on the natural disaster of hurricane and how the hurricane is responsible for the reduction for the destruction of the civilization. Then another literary vehicle is destruction of natural cycle and food chain. So here also you can refer the novels of J.G. Ballard, The Drowned World, where he discusses about the global warming, and his apocalyptic vision is very prominent in this novel. Uh, the third is hostility of space. Clash of Planets and Comet Clash. Clash of Planets and Comet Crash. Here you can refer Gregory Benford and David Brin's Heart of the Comet, or the very well-known novel by Arthur Clarke, Odyssey 3. You might have read these. So this is about the clash of the planets and comet clash. Another category or another vehicle, literary vehicle, these catastrophic literature writers are using is natural catastrophe due to human causes like war and other destructive ventures. So earlier we have discussed the natural disasters like earthquake, the climate changes, and um, even the destruction of the natural cycle and food chain. And now I'm talking about the natural catastrophe due to human causes like war and other destructive ventures, where we can refer to excessive mining, high level of radiation, carbon emission. So J.J. Ballard's another novel, which is based on carbon emission, is The Burning World. So in The Burning World, you find the effects of the carbon emission. Then hazardous radiations in J.G. Ballard's Rushing to Paradise. Then nuclear annihilation in Judith Merril's Shadow on the Earth. While global warming is prominently reflected in Paulo Basigello's Wind Up Girl. Wind Up Girl. I know that it is very difficult to remember the names. I will share the list of these novels to the organizers so that the students and the participants will get the list of these novels. Okay. Then natural catastrophe due to alien expedition on Earth. So here you can refer Orson Scott's Ender's Game or Teen Lebon's Alien Out of the Shadows. Sorry, Alien Out of Shadows. Another category, natural catastrophe due to religious causes. Sir has also mentioned about the religious causes, where end of millennium we can say pralaya in our Maharashtra. There are a number of narratives on pralaya. Even in Konkani literature, Pundalik Nayar's upheaval is significant work on pralaya. Okay. Jeffrey Marcus Ocean's a novel about the end of the Mayan calendar. We can categorize this novel in this trope. Then medical causes of catastrophe, which is also another significant area of the research nowadays. So here we can refer to Stephen Daniel Perry's Resident. Then administration of wrong drug. Now we can relate it to the present pandemic. I'm not blaming the government or um, um, here I'm giving just example of this administration of wrong drug on humanity, biological warfare, creation of new laboratory viruses, etc. You know the underlined meaning of these categories. So Evil Zero Hour is another novel which tells us about all these administration of the wrong drugs on humanity. So these are the man-made disasters. So these literary vehicles which I have discussed now are directed to deliver a certain literary motif, and the researchers should recognize um, these literary motifs, and this is a challenge for new researchers. For instance, the acute hostile changes in nature is also one of the most frequently used fictional schemes that make the reader alert that the nature is dynamic and it changes over the time. You know that British fiction, earlier British fiction based on shipwreck. So I will not take the examples from the ancient literature or the early British literature and American literature. But nowadays in the post-colonial literature also you will find out the examples of the hostile changes in the climate, especially in Margaret Atwood's fiction. So it attracts our attention towards the fact that the nature which is very amiable today may be dangerously hostile tomorrow. And in such kind of literary scheme, the causes of catastrophe are generally either natural or unknown. There are several international forums, NGOs, and even the government agencies that frequently ring the alarm of danger as they put forth the atrocities of man on nature. Besides the federations and forums working on the front of environmental issues, there is also well-defined theory of nature culture opposition, that is nature culture dialectics or dialectics of nature and culture, that has been giving us the advices that culture will kill the nature and uh, eventually nature will annihilate culture. The authors of catastrophic literature have been focusing on this fact and depicting that how mankind is endangering the food chain of nature or interrupting into the cycle of nature that will create cause that will cause imbalance and final destruction. Besides the earthly reasons, there are few authors who depict that the catastrophe may be imposed on us by the outer cosmos. The most frequent fictional vehicle is the clash of comet, which I have just referred. The literary motive of such kind of fiction is to show humanity in the face of catastrophe. Many of the novels depict that became, how the social institutions failed when the end of the earth becomes visible. Now I will talk about certain concerns, ecological decay and literary imagination. The reflection of end from the theological discourses of the world influence the creative minds of the period. The different kinds of stereotypes across the period in literature. For example, few of the authors depict the end of the world due to a kind of epidemic, natural disasters. Few reveal scientific experiments which went wrong and killed humanity, nuclear annihilation, resource depletion, leading the world towards the devastating end. Another concept in catastrophe literature is aftermaths of ecological collapse and pursuit of environmentalists. The depiction of aftermaths of ecological collapse is also one of the significant markers of this kind of literature. It is observed that most of the authors, by depicting the post-apocalyptic world, highlights the graveness of today's environmental problems, as we have discussed in J.J. Ballard's fiction. In these apocalyptic novels, authors use natural or man-made reasons that destroys the old system and creates the possibility of new establishments with new rules which are more eco-friendly. Now, ecological symbolism and pictography of literature. Um, just now, sir referred to the diseased metaphor, illness as a metaphor. So after the industrial revolution and spread of scientific knowledge, the literary representation of ecological issues are depicted by using the negative and diseased symbols. For this, you can also refer um, uh, uh, Foucault's theory for analyzing the diseased metaphors. The symbolic representation of ecology has been shifted from mere glorification to didacticism. Uh, Means earlier we find that the purpose of depicting nature was for the didactic purpose, and also for the deification and glorification of the natural resources. Now it has shifted nowadays, as most of the authors attempt to transmit a message to the real world by holding mirror to the capacity of reflecting the distant future. Ecological destruction and literature of socio-political apocalyptic is another concern of the catastrophic literature. It can be seen that the opposition between nature and culture has been remained one of the frequently debated topic of academics across the time, and few of the theories from sociology, anthropology have considered culture as a binary opposite term to nature. However, the few theorists also rely on the harmonious coexistence of earth, of both. In literature, this nature culture relation gets the dual kind of representation, as few authors celebrates the nature and her role in the human life, whereas the few of them also depict nature as one of the enemies of mankind. Now, after this, I will shift to Margaret Atwood, one of the eminent writer in Canadian fiction. Margaret Atwood is best known as a feminist, but she is also an environmental activist for several decades. And in her short story collection, Handmaid's Tale, she hints at environmental issues being the cause of fertility crisis. There are regular references to the colonies at the edges of Gilead. Those who are sent there die quickly from the pollution and radioactive waste. Now, as all of you know, Margaret Atwood concern is about the woman and um, nature. Yes, she is an environmental activist. Um, some of the participant has talked about this, has read some um, queries, I think. So there are regular references to the nature and women. So environmental degradation caused by human activity and the neglect is the underlying root cause of infertility in Gilead. And this seems to be the underlying message of Atwood's writing also. Not necessarily degradation will lead to infertility, but the environment and the human beings, or environment and women, are intertwined in this work of Margaret Atwood. So what is Margaret Atwood trying to convey about climate change through her writing, and is her climate fiction now becoming our climate reality? We have to consider. In one of his interviews, she says that it isn't an invented future. The world which is presented in Margaret Atwood's novels, especially The Year of the Flood, she says that it isn't an invented future, but a possible future. And she writes through her writing. So she describes it not as a science fiction, but the fiction based on reality. And I think it is a kind of speculative fiction. And this is one of the emerging area of the popular literature in Canadian fiction. Beside this, Margaret Atwood has written survival. Survival is a non-fiction writing by Margaret Atwood, where she talks about the nature as monster. So this is a very important book, seminal book, on about Canadian fiction and the image of nature depicted in Canadian fiction. So, in her book, in her non-fiction, she talks about the hostile nature or the negative side of the nature. In another novel, Surfacing, she talks about the self and landscape. So it is about the self-discovery through nature. So in this novel, you will find that the unnamed narrator, this is also one of the features of the post-colonial novels, using the unnamed narrators. So it is a search for roots and families. So the narrator returns to her native place in the search of her family, in search of her father, and the novel begins where we find the description about the nature and culture, the dialectic between nature and culture. Then the narrator tries to search herself with nature, and there is uh, under the surface of water, she has described the aquatic world where there is no culture like a human world, and she says that there is a specific language of the this animal and the plant worlds, and this is means these language barriers, their communication is not like the human being. So these language barriers are not the barriers for the progress of the animal world. And there, through this uh, imagery or the aquatic world, she tries to discover the self. So this is the novel about the self and landscape. Here she uses some of the images which are related to the woman mother and the mother earth. So that is one of the important concern of the ecofeminism. And so from that point of view also this novel is important. And if you look at this as a catastrophe literature, we can use our other perspective to analyze this novel. So there are ample examples in the Indian literature also, but this the depiction of nature in Indian literature is from the positive approach. Means nature is always depicted as a giver, nature is glorified, nature is deified, and woman mother is also equated with mother earth. So we find the positive side of nature in Indian literature, but in the novels like Hungry Tide by Amitav Ghosh, we will find the effects of ebbs and tides. And but we can use the eco-critical perspective for analyzing this novel. And in that novel, you will find the elements like place displacement. So it is also very good example of the post-colonial Indian fiction. Then we have the example of Arundhati Roy's, you know about the activist Medha Patkar in their environmentalist concern. So all these are about the ecological concerns, but this is my opinion. Perhaps you may not be agree with me that in Indian literature we find more positive side of the nature than the negative side. So though there are few novels about pralaya, about the destruction of nature, always there is a positive message from the nature. Nature as prakriti, that is referred in Sanskrit literature, and nature is equated with women. Another important thing is that um, in Indian literature, uh, as we find there is no negative side highlighted by the writers. In Margaret Atwood, just now I have talked about the negative side or the hostile nature. Though she is using this hostile nature, her um, mood is, her tone is satirical, ironical. So the ultimate aim is to teach the lesson to humanity. If we try to overpower the nature, what will happen? This is the message which she tries to give us. So for our from our earlier discussions and examples of various writers, and particularly Margaret Atwood's writing, it is clear that natural calamities and catastrophes should be taken as a warning if man continues to tamper with nature and indulge the practices which harm the ecological balance. One day, the calamities will remain mere fictional narratives, but will not remain the mere fictional narratives, but will become the reality. So we should be aware of the natural calamities and the power of the nature over man. Thank you.
May I request the participants to have any questions to pose them so that Madam will respond to us. Please raise your hand. Please raise your hand if you have a question relevant to the topic. Yeah. So unmute. Unmute, yes, ask to unmute. Yes. You can call her name so that she will be. So I request Ms. Asia Mustaq to ask the question so that Madam will, the speaker, will respond. Ms. Asia Mustaq. Ms. Asia, please switch on your video. You haven't unmuted, Ms. Asia. Yeah. So on behalf of her, I'll ask the question, ma'am. Yeah. Asia, she says, ma'am, what is the purpose of using nameless narrators in their writings? What is the purpose
of
using nameless narrators in their writings? Nameless narrators.
I can't get the word. Which narrators? Narratives?
In any narrators, ma'am, what is the purpose of using nameless or anonymous narrators?
Okay. So that I have referred in case of Margaret Atwood's novel, I think about surfacing in my lecture. See, this is one of the important theme in Margaret Atwood's novels, search for identity, search for self. And this is one of the recurrent theme in all post-colonial novels, and especially in the women writers novel, the search for identity. And here means you will find that either using the unnamed narrators or even in shadow lines, Amitabh's ghost shadow lines, you will find the unnamed narrator, and even using the child narrators like in Arundhati Roy's Eska and Rahel, because there is certain scheme of the writer or the motif of the writer, and I think in especially in Margaret Atwood's novels, as it is a post-colonial, prominent post-colonial novel, it is about the theme of identity, search for identity, and the narrator comes in search of our roots of family and our own self. So this is one of the purpose used in such kind of narratives like self-identity, crisis for a search for the self-identity.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I also request participants to ask questions even to Professor Sunny.
So the pandemic which we are facing now is a hazardous or a disaster, natural or a man-made?
Yeah. Asked by Humera.
Yes, sir. So the pandemic which we are facing now is a hazardous or disaster. Is it a natural or a man-made?
So if you go by the religious scriptures, it is the wrath of nature. And if you go by the conspiracy theory, it is man-made.
Sir, I can't able to see the video.
Okay.
Humera.
Sir, I can't able to see the video.
No, if you get the answer, that's enough, right?
Sir, good afternoon, Srinath, sir.
Thank you.
Afternoon.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody has any questions, please?
Yes, sir, I have a question.
Please.
Sir.
So I have posted in the chat box, sir.
Okay. So could you repeat that?
Yeah, it's from Bhanu Prakash.
Yes, sir. Sir, madam has excellently dealt with the disasters in literature. But is there any author or any literary work that cautions us or advises us how to deal with the nature's fury? My question is there, sir, in the chat box. You can see.
Okay. I have seen it already. See, as I told you, this is not, literature is not one-to-one relation, means as the pandemic occurs and the writers write. So this is not one-to-one equation. We find the imagination and the hidden motive, the surface meaning. So there are certain undercurrents. And so as I refer to Margaret Atwood's novel, The Year of the Flood, there you can also refer to the pandemic, references to the pandemic. But through the by creating the imaginative character, by creating the certain dialogue, the literature tries to guide the human race, means tries to teach certain lessons. So as the reader of literature, student of literature, we should explore the meanings through the symbols and motifs which are present in the. That is my.
May I once again request the participants, to be silent, like, you've been cooperating. Thank you. Shall I hope that the questions are over now? Thank you. Now,
Hello, sir.
Has anybody got a question?
Sir, I am Dr. Liaquat Ali. Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Please.
I am Dr. Liaquat Ali. I would like to
Please,
ask one question. Sir, question is to Madam. Sir, Rajeshri, Madam. Hello, ma'am.
Okay. Hello.
So you have referred references with regard to so many novelists and their opinion with regard to pandemics and disasters. I would like to know, is there any recent any writings with regard to the as we daily are seeing there are so many breakdown of relations while performing funeral of their parents, they are not coming, and so many breakdown of relations are there. So is there any emotional narratives written by for the present pandemic? Is there any references, madam?
Yes,
related to the present pandemic.
yeah, they means I have
Yes, ma'am. Hello.
hello.
It's not
I,
properly audible.
I
Yes.
don't remember the name, but as he said that is there any narrative presenting the present or depicting the present epidemic pandemic? Uh, I don't remember the name, but there is one novel based on means recently she has published the women writer. I don't remember the name. Yesterday only I saw it, but I don't remember the name. But as I answered in my earlier question also, it is not one-to-one correspondence in literature. As this thing happened and this thing means the story is written. This kind of things will means we are in the middle of the COVID crisis. As I mentioned in my speech, that it is premature to say or predict anything about the world. Today also we can't say that what will happen tomorrow in Maharashtra or in Telangana. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. So may I now request my colleague, Ms. Srilata ma'am, to extend our sincere thanks to our speaker, Dr. Srimati Rajeshri Govindrao Barvekar, madam. Over to Srilata ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am. It's our pleasure to have you in this national webinar. So really you enlightened all of us with your discourse, ma'am, like, changing forms of writings, especially when it comes to the post-colonial writings and the hybridized culture of India and the depiction of nature, the positive and the negative side of nature. Yes, in different forms of literature like science fiction, which you told as a popular one. And yes, ma'am, as you told, literature has always tried to reflect the life. And yes, you spoke about the man-made disasters, yes, can be controlled by, but natural disasters which cannot be controlled. And yes, how these disasters, these pandemics, influence the normality of life, and how it affects the psychology of the human beings also. And we are really thankful to you for talking about authors like J.J. Ballard, Amitav Ghosh, Arundhati Roy, Margaret Atwood, and other writers, ma'am. And we thank you. We thank you a lot for discussing, catastrophe from religious causes as medical causes, and you have discussed all these things. And finally, how nature, how the relation between the nature and culture. And yes, you also emphasized on Indian literatures, like, which talks about the pralaya and prakriti, and more in a positive, more positive manner. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you once again.
Wow. Thank you, Srilata ma'am. That was so nice. Really, that was a gripping speech, ma'am. One of the most recognized slogans in disaster risk reduction is "From words to action, a noble and much needed effort, as words alone are not enough to reduce disaster risks." It is critical that academic community grapple with this issue at a time when the importance of a consistent message about the root causes of disasters has never been more pressing. We as an academic community should emphasize the difference between a hazard and a disaster, as well as explain disasters as processes of maldevelopment. Thank you very much, ma'am. It was really wonderful. Thank you. May I request some of the students, they are ready to give their feedback. We'll take only feedback from a boy and a girl. May I now request Maggie or Sushma to give your feedback. Are you there online, Maggie? Maggie or Sushma?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, very nice. Will
Sir,
you go?
am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are quite audible.
Okay, sir. respected speakers of today's webinar, organizers, scholars, and my dear friends. A very good afternoon to one and all. I'm really happy to be the part of this webinar. What I understood is hazards can turn into a disaster because of human acts of omission and commission rather than an act of nature. And that disasters are caused made by socio-economic than natural factors. Nevertheless, many scientists disciplines refers to disasters as natural by continuously blaming nature and putting the responsibility for failures of development of freak natural phenomena or acts of God. We enable those who create disasters, risking by accepting poor urban planning, increasing socio-economic inequalities, non-existent or poorly regulated policies, and lack of protective adaptation and mitigating to avoid detection. The most important, the most interesting point which I noticed in today's session, one of the important point is from the madam's speech that is destroy old system and make new rules which are more eco-friendly. It really, I really like that sentence, and I feel if that happens, everything will be good, and the future generation won't face so much difficulties which we are facing today. And the message is very clear that while hazards are natural, disasters are not. Thank you, sir.
Wow, Maggie, very good, very good, and yes, very you were there in the whole session very nicely, and that speaks volumes about our speakers. Thank you, Maggie, once again. May I request Mr. Mahipal, who is also requesting to give your feedback. Over to Mr. Mahipal.
Good afternoon, sir. Respected speakers and organizers and participants to today's national webinar. As per my understanding, a hazard becomes a disaster because its impact threatens the lives and livelihoods of people who are often vulnerable due to discrimination and marginalization, inequitable access to resources, knowledge, and support, as well as rapid urbanization, environmental degradation, and climate change. A hazard cannot be prevented. Disasters, however, can be.
Yes.
And again, I'm thankful to ma'am, one of the speaker, who mentioned like our writers, J.G. Ballard and Margaret Atwood. She spoke very well, sir. It's a great information from the ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for this great opportunity. Thank you, sir.
Good, very good, Mahipal. Thank you. May I now request our principal madam, Dr. Noorjahan Garu, to give the valedictory address. Over to Dr. Noorjahan, ma'am.
Yeah, very good afternoon to everybody. We have come to the day end of this really enlightened webinar on this topic. So I hope all the students and the participants have got insights into the literary contributions or we with the chapter title. So I have seen
Ask to unmute. That was.
Will continue contribute our insights, our views, or share our feelings, so that we can keep up our what this psychological strength and overcome pandemic situation. Academician as a teacher, we should continuously face these challenges. Even sitting at home, we need not stop everything. At last, we have to leave and we have to take a breath. So I hope all the participants have gained knowledge. Really, it is very informative and and useful for the students and the participants or the research scholars. I think a very good topic has evolved for the research scholars, right? Because we never have seen such pandemic in our lifetime. So I think it's a new topic for the next generation of research scholars to take up this topic as their research work, because even UGC is also thinks, what are the impact of such pandemic on the society, psychological conditions. There should be studies to be carried out by the students and the universities and the faculty, so that these studies will really help us in future to overcome this situation. Because on the medical front, we are fighting with this pandemic, but if you want to speak psychological conditions of the people who are sitting at home, we are in some of means impressions. Such studies will really help us and strengthen our minds. We have to overcome these calamities or disasters or the pandemics. Definitely we'll overcome. At last, we are the strongest on this world. So no corona or no virus can wash out the human species. So definitely we'll show that yes, we are strong enough to fight this pandemic situation. So yes, I want to congratulate once again all the team, Srinachari, head of the department and convener of today's webinar, and Professor Manoja ma'am and senior faculty and the BOS chairman who have been behind the screen and taken the initiative, the successful organizing this seminar, and with a great zeal and enthusiasm. I have seen the participation and the whole organizing team, Malavi and Srilata and everybody, all the faculty who have been involved, the technical persons, Arjun and everybody has really helped for the successful Anjaneil Garu, for the success of this seminar. Once again, extend my gratitude and thanks to the speakers, Professor Mohammad Sani Garu and Rajeshri Madam, Dr. Rajeshri Madam, who have spent their time, valuable time in taking their knowledge to the students through this webinar. I really have been happy. Thank you, sir. And congratulations to the organizing team once again. Thank you. Thank you, Charigar.
Thank you, ma'am. Finally, it's almost 2 o'clock. Let me have the privilege of presenting a vote of thanks. I especially thank the chief guest of this webinar and our registrar, Professor Pindi Pawan Kumar Garu. Our thanks are to our OSD to Vice Chancellor, Dr. D. Madhusudan Reddy Garu, for being with us today. We are grateful to the chairperson and the principal of PG College, Palamuru University, Dr. Nurjan Garu, for gracing this national webinar. Our special thanks are to Professor Muhammad Abdul Sami Siddiqui sir and Dr. Srimati Rajeshri Govindrao Barvekar ma'am for enlightening all of us, period. I thank our esteemed colleagues at the PG centers at Gadwal, Vanaparthi and Kolhapur. Our thanks are to the staff of our university, media friends, and all the participants of this national webinar, particularly how COVID-19 has spread without giving any scope for time or anything else. In the same way, such webinar has been planned. Honestly speaking, I admit that the idea belongs to Professor Manoja Garu, our chairperson BOS, and she forced and she motivated us. Like, we know that team means together everyone achieves more. We worked together, and this has become really, otherwise it wouldn't have been what it's now. So special thanks to Professor Manoja Garu and also to my other colleagues, Srilata ma'am, Malavi and all. And particularly, I extend my sincere thanks to Dr. SN Arjun Kumar, our PRO Garu, he helped, and his help speaks volumes. Even Sri Anjaneyulu Garu, who has been very helpful. Presently, they are with me right now. And also to Gauss Mohiuddin Garu, the Department of Computer and all. Sri Mallikarjun Garu, particularly in helping us in all the aspects. But not least, our thanks are to Mr. Zamil and also Thirupatamma and Jyoti belonging to the Department of English, Palamuru University. Hence, once again, promising the participants of the PowerPoint presentation, which I'm going to share we received from Professor Siddiqui sir, and also any inputs if I receive from Madam also, I would promise to share those things with you. We have time, and with this vote of thanks, I say that this has been successful, and all the participants have been so disciplined, so cooperative, so patient enough. And I thank you once again, and I declare that this national webinar has been a success. Thank you once again. Namaste to everybody on behalf of English Department, Palamuru University. Thank you. I request each and every participant to fill the feedback form so that the e-certificate will be sent to their mail IDs. Please do fill the feedback forms. Thank you. If the participants have any questions, you are happy to share quickly. And we are very glad that constantly 100 participants have been on the Zoom app, and also more than 70 participants have been present on YouTube link. Really, we thank you for your active participation.
Yeah, Sammy.
Right. Yes, sir.
Yeah. No, there are the questions related to Sammy were in chat.
Okay.
There are.
Sir, Srinathachari sir, could you please read them?
Yeah,
because,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because I don't have access to those questions because I left, right?
Yes, sir. I'll read them for you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Participant says, thank you for organizing the special thanks to great speakers, Professor Sami sir, and also Barvekar ma'am. Thank you all. Wow, wonderful. Looking at the questions, feedback, only where is the form? Okay. There haven't been any questions. Sami
no, where I finished my session, when I finished my talk, there they have asked some questions.
Yes.
And
So may I request the participants?
All right, they can ask it.
Yeah, please.
Now as well.
Mr. Krishna, Maggie, Sushma, Mr. Ramesh, Humera, Bhanu Prakash, please.
Arjun, a question, so అతను బంద్ చేయంగానే కనపడ్డాయి.
And Professor Sami sir,
yes, sir.
I have a question. You were talking about some of the collections pertinent to this disaster management, and you were guiding your students, I think.
Right.
Could you kindly elaborate? And
sir, I was telling about the novels that deal with tsunami, and there are various novels that have been written, and there is if you could just, if any of the scholars interested in this, if they could just Google it, like novels about tsunami, novels about earthquakes, like that, they will find a very good list. And these are the contemporary writings.
Yeah.
These are the writings which many of the scholars have not considered for their research. So that will frame a very good form of new writing and new research, and especially those who are interested in reading, in exploring these things, it will be very helpful. The one name that I remember is the novel is entitled as Wave, and that is based on that is related to tsunami itself. Animals People is the name of another novel which deals with Bhopal gas tragedy. Like that, there are various writings. That was the point that I was making.
So thank you so much.
One question in the chat, sir.
Yeah, one
Yes,
question
sir.
in chat. We are reading it up.
Sir, I am
Yes, sir.
out, sir. Sir, could you please tell me the difference of
Politicizing the pandemic.
the pandemic
Yes, sir.
situation in India is
Yes.
different from that is happening in the US and the UK?
Arjun, again, let me repeat it, sir. Clearly. Could you please tell me the difference of politicizing the pandemic situation in India? Is it different from that is happening in the US and the UK?
No, the basic point is it is happening. Politicizing is happening. That is the point. And that depends on the kind of results that we want to achieve from them. And it's true that because of the difference in the targets, right, there will be difference in the way it is being politicized. For instance, I was giving one example that even in India itself, why just US and India? In India itself, when we look at the reports, right, the reports relating to floods, I was giving the example of Chennai flood, and one of the reports says that when how floods have been means the caste issue has come up with the floods as well.
Yeah.
Right, when the relief reaches the village, it's reported in Hindu, the newspaper. It says that when the relief reaches the villages, the powerful ones, the upper caste ones, they want that the relief should be distributed first in the upper caste locality, then in the lower caste locality. So it has been happening, and it's not just India, it's not just US, it's not just present government or present thing, right? If you read any of the disaster narratives, the most popular being the plague one, right, by Albert Camus, you will find the similar situation, right? Whosoever is powerful, he does things like that.
Yes, sir. Yeah, actually, it so happened with the literatures also. Actually,
Right.
when all these disasters occur, people tend to look them in scientific ways or medical ways or other ways. But always, the very purpose of our this webinar is literature also equally responded. From the beginning, all of us, we are clearing this point. It's not only these politicizing effects and social effects and very, very disturbing effects around all these things, but how these experiences have turned into narratives and they are around us. And
Right.
literatures, these experiences have not been taken. We've been with all the social medias around us, we look for all other things from all other fields, but not what literatures around India particularly, not even India, in black communities we are looking at how they are reacting to them. We are not just recording them in a proper way. At least we can record them as the Bengali literatures at the time of plague were recorded, and these are also to be recorded in a proper way so that romanticizing would be always there, but the recording should be there, which very strengthens the field of literature. That's main motive of this seminar, choosing this topic. Thank you. I thank both the speakers to take up it and to participate in this. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you. Professor Sami, sir, here is a question.
Yes.
And that previously that was the question of Karunashree.
Right.
Now Mr. Mahipal asks, how poetry brought emotional change? How poetry brought emotional change in people who are performing funeral of their relatives recklessly, maybe in the COVID situation?
Right. So poetry has a healing effect. The whole literature has that, and among them, poetry being maybe in one way, since you need some time to write a novel, right? You need some time to write a novel and get it published and it becoming public. It takes some time for that. But in case of poetry, it's short form of writing, and that might be one of the reasons that we have seen more poems in the recent times. And one of the scholars had, I think somebody had asked in the chat box as well, about literature dealing with COVID-19. Somebody had asked to Madam. So Muse India has published, is everyday publishing, right? They are publishing every month a special section on poetry, and most of the poems being published in the last 3 months, they deal with some or the other aspect of COVID-19 itself, right? So now coming to the question that he has asked, it's true that poetry helps, and especially it has some emotional effect, and it gives some strength to the victims, to the affected ones, and that way it can help. It has already helped human beings through ages, and in the present situation also it helps, because it gives some solace, some some sort of positivity.
Having some cathartic effect to
right, cathartic, right.
Particularly the new song in Telugu, Mahipal, Adesh Ramesh song, Pilla Jella Intikada Etla Undro. It was just going viral. And it is not that what poetry helps, in what way poetry helps, at least it is empathetic. When I am in distress, my fellow brothers are also in distress. That effect could be shared. It is a common experience shared by many of us. That is the more important, because it is looking at what is the effect, what is the use of poetry in this situation. It's not that. The feeling, writing behind the poetry. I really take all my student friends and the participants for that song also. And it is taking all the migrant laborers with us and their problems, because particularly in Telangana, the poetry did not take up a lead unless this song just flashed all the viral social medias. Particularly, I'm not a good singer otherwise. The Pilla Jella, Intikada, Etla Unro. So it is, all of us, we are sharing that. Thank you, Sami.
And we all must read Professor Sami's poetry, because he is Hindi, English, and Urdu particularly. Is a sweet language.
Thank you, sir.
Here is a good question. Can sci-fi novels, scientific fiction novels, represent nature's ire? Question by Surendra.
No, thinking that since it deals with science, it doesn't have anything to do with nature. That cannot be the thing, right? Yeah. Even science fiction can talk about nature's anger and nature's ire. So that's quite possible.
Yeah.
But they will do it. Now, this is actually the problem of the problem of perspective, right? Yeah. Literature has taught us not to fix ourselves to any one of the perspectives. So you begin when you watch a science fiction in a movie, right? It also talks about how nature has been affected by science and then responded.
Yeah. Thank you. Sir, here is a question, another question. Good afternoon, Sami sir. Sir, you gave various aspects to analyze the present pandemic situations. I constantly think of the emotional needs of students. I mean, suddenly getting into homes, not meeting their teachers and friends, and then the pressure of the online learning. If you could share your thoughts on this aspect. Yeah.
No, that's true. That's true. And we have it's not small children, and especially uh, education as overall as compared to other sectors. COVID-19 has increased the speed of this this online education and all. So now we will have to, instead of IQ, as educators, we need to work on emotional quotient, EQ, right? And that's a very important point, and I agree with that. I completely agree with that. And the emotional side has affected not just small children, everybody around us, right?
Yeah.
Including the speakers, participants, organizers, everybody.
Everybody. So thank you.
Right.
Sir, one more question. I think now participants have become very involved. Sir,
Right.
we observe present. If we observe present situation, we have some instances where we can witness hazards being turned into disasters. How far do you agree with this?
That's always there. That's true. That's agreeable. Hazards actually, uh, as one of the girls in the feedback, and then the boy also, both of them said the same thing, that the hazard is actually turning into disaster. And even when we look at things from eco-critical point of view, we say the same thing, that the human action, and sometimes human action, sometimes human inaction is responsible for turning hazards into disasters.
True, sir. True.
Right.
And Mr. Krishna asks, how can we understand self-discovery through nature, sir?
I think Professor Manoja should ask this question. Should answer this question.
Yeah, really. Not very seriously. So, in
Right.
just want to say, I want to see the question. It is
Nature, how nature leads to self-discovery. That is the point.
self-discovery. Of course, nowadays we don't go. We never introspect or even retrospect into ourselves. When man could not retrospect or introspective for his or her own self, looking it and sinking into the nature is far away feature. And whenever these disasters are happening, it is once again time to get back into ourselves, and it is get back into the nature. That's what I was when in our introduction of this topic, I was ending with a last week field work. They told that, yes, okay, ma'am, you people gave us masks and sanitizers. We use them for you people only, people coming from cities, not for us, because we live in nature. When we live in nature, Krishna sir, we very much, we are connected with nature, we connected with ourselves. That is self discovery. When that self discovery is could be empathized, we can be very happy people as such. And as you said, Sanu sir, once again, I want to just intrude into the session with the permission of the convener Garu, that we academicians are very seriously to think about this online teaching patterns as such.
Right.
Nonetheless, to take the example from the girl who suicided in Kerala and all, and how far we are going to introduce into our not so developed situations. Because I remember when I was announcing my Zoom classes, one of my rural students put a picture working in his field, and he said that, Madam, internet is not there. He was writing it in mail and posting it somewhere, making proof of his photograph. So these are all the problems we academicians as professors sitting there. It is not the not the very AC rooms decisions that it should be really think over problem, how to plan out this academic years and education patterns in future. The
Right.
very immediate post-COVID situations. Thank you.
So it's almost 2:30, and before I conclude, I would like to quote Brad Henry, Professor Sir,
Yes, sir.
lawyer and politician, who was the 26th governor of Oklahoma. He said, "A good teacher can inspire hope, ignite the imagination, and instill a love of learning." And truly, Professor Sami sir and Barvekar ma'am, you've done that today, and it's really we have learned a lot. Thank you. We look forward to seeing you personally at our university in the days to come. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Great.